uh, dead tree by the Kite Girl. Remove that and replace it with the Churchill entrance
Tree by the Kite Girl.
as item number 12C.
That and
Are there any other requested changes?
the Churchill entrance.
Will, are you saying something?
I am not, Mayor.
Okay, sorry. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
As well, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Will has made a motion. Is there a second?
Julian, a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by stating name and A or nay.
Will, aye.
Julian, aye.
Okay. Motion is unanimous. Okay, moving on to item number 5, council actions. Council did approve a number of our requested expenditures, the $2,000 for the playground mulch, $1,500 for pressure washing, $12,000 for hardwood mulch, and $2,060 for the Balsam Common Area renovations. Yeah, item number 6A, our budget report. We're in still pretty good shape on all of our budget line items. We do have some larger expenditures coming up, mainly for the pool contract. Most of those expenses will be coming up in May and June. So that number will jump. Also, we're going to spending some money on maintenance for mulch. So some of those numbers will jump. On capital outlay, 15,000 of that is reserved for playground equipment and tennis court renovations. So it looks like we haven't spent much, but there is $15,000 to be added to that for reserves for the tennis court and playground equipment. Any questions about the budget? Copies of this were sent out to each of you. Okay, let's move on to next year's budget. Again, I did send out on Saturday copies of the proposed budget for next year. This slide just briefly shows where our budget was for the last 3 years or last 2 years plus proposed budget for next year. We're still anticipating that revenues are going to be down some this year because we don't know at this point how many people will be joining the pool. But we do expect it to be up over last year. And I think we're seeing already people are signing up for pool memberships. But I don't know how it stacks up compared to a couple years ago, maybe.
Right now, we're at 50% of what we have for last year.
Okay, we're at 50% of what we had last year. But last year was a down year, so that's probably a realistic projection for next year. Our expenditures in the proposed budget are over what we had last year. We were very conservative last year, not knowing how much revenue we would have. But the proposed expenses for next year are still slightly less than what they were in fiscal 2019, 2020. I sent out the revised budget on Saturday to each of you. There is one slight change that was made since then. Joe Scaldera requested that his electrical budget remain the same of what it was last year, which was $8,500. In what was sent out to you, I had that listed at $8,000, so there was $500 more in what you're seeing on the screen than what I sent out to each of you. Are there any requested changes at this point?
There, one, the flag replacement is also the banners. We have not replaced banners in a number of years.
Okay,
And if you, my concern is the banners are all around at the same time, and we're not to replace. So you may want to consider, last time we did banners, it was about close to $2,000 for the banners. You may want to think about addressing that.
okay. Let's see, Sheree is suggesting that we take a look at flag replacements and banners. We have $2,500 in next year's budget for flag replacements and banners. Now, obviously, that's more than we need for just flag replacements. So there is some money that could be used for flag replacements. If we up that, say from 2,500 to 4,000, would that cover banners plus flags?
I would think so, because we recently, last year, we ordered the Lake Park flags. Right, but I thought we were.
Yeah,
I'll have to look.
yeah,
That's the only thing, because if we're at Lake Park flags, those are custom flags.
Right.
I'll have to check.
yeah. Then let's change the flag replacements from 2,500 to 4,000. Are there any other suggestions for the budget for next year?
Mayor, this is Will. I mean,
Yes.
I've got cul-de-sac ideas, but I don't have any numbers until we start getting Lucas involved, and I figure, so I don't have any numbers to present regarding that at this point.
Okay. As I recall, in the detail for the budget, I had $4,000 for cul-de-sac upgrades this year, and I think the same for next year. Of course, that doesn't go a long way, depending upon what kind of renovations you're looking at. I mean, that will cover a lot of shrubs and mulch, but I don't know if you're looking at anything else beyond that.
No, let's start there. I mean,
Okay.
I did see that number there, but I mean, there's a lot of them, and obviously we can't get to all of them
Right.
at the same time. We're gonna have to break it up. So yeah, we'll start with that 4,000. That's fine.
Okay. And we do have money left in this year's budget if there's things like mulch that we could be taking care of. It's maybe getting a little late to do a lot of new planting. But if we could cover some of the things like mulch or anything like that, we can certainly try and do some of that this year to help with next year's
10-4.
budget. Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple that I can think of that they would benefit from mulch. No new plantings needed.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll pass those by you.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other suggestions? If not, is there a motion to approve the fiscal 2021/2022 budget with the addition of another $1,500 for flags?
Well, I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Julian. I'll second.
Okay, we have 2 seconds, Jillian and Jeremy. Any further discussion? we will pass this on to Cheryl Bennett tomorrow. There will be a budget hearing in June, and then council will finalize the budget at the June meeting. All those in favor of presenting this budget to our finance officer signify by stating their name and I and A.
Will, aye.
Julian, I.
Motion is unanimous. All right, at this point, we'll turn it over to Angie for events.
The mainline blood drive, was canceled due to low, they didn't have enough workers. So we rescheduled that to June 18th, the same time from 1 to 5:30. Instead of being on a Sunday, that's a Friday. Memorial Day, so we have something small, I don't have any major details yet. 4th of July, we're looking at revisiting the ice cream social, what they wanted to do pre-COVID. Touch base with Joe, get with him. And maybe some live music or something like that, and maybe Debo that evening. 4th of July is on a Sunday. We might have a huge turnout. National Night Out is August 3rd. I already have all 4 branches of the military coming for recruitment tables. I've reached out to the sheriff's department to go ahead and reserve K-9 units, SWAT, mobile units, several of their branches, and I've reached out to Wendy at Kingfish Fire Department. I've not heard back from her yet, but other than that, it's moving.
Okay,
Just gotta plan a menu.
okay,
That's a bit.
all right, thank you. Recreational facilities, as I mentioned earlier, council did approve the request for $1,500 for pressure washing. I sent requests for quote out to 3 vendors. 2 of them responded. One of them saying they would get back to me in 48 hours, and they never did. I did not hear back at all from the 3rd one, but Metro Steamway has been very responsive. I sent a list of the items that we'd like to have pressure washed to each of the vendors. Metro Steamway came back at $695 for those items. And then they suggested, in addition to what I had sent them, that we add the brick area in front of the Matheson Square gazebo, the roundabout, I think at the Kite Girl, and one other area. So all total, with their additional recommendations, it came to $1,075, which I thought was extremely reasonable. This includes all the playground equipment, some park benches, the Matheson Square gazebo, the bridge out in Russell Park. We have approved the $1,500 in a previous meeting. Council approved the money. If there are no objections, I will let Metro Steamway go ahead and do this work. Are there any questions on that or suggestions? Okay. Norris Jeffrey offered to donate 10 Bluebird houses to the village. And we had discussed this in our previous meetings. One of the big issues we had was how were we going to install these? And I have since received an email from an Eagle Scout candidate looking for a project. And I suggested that that would be a project that he could undertake. And he was interested in doing that. Then I followed up with Mr. Jeffrey, and he said that he could only get 4 birdhouses from his vendor. However, he said if the Eagle Scout was interested in building some additional birdhouses, that he would be happy to provide the lumber and pay for the lumber. I went back to the Eagle Scout candidate, and he said, yes, he would be interested in doing that. So that's where we stand on that. The Eagle Scout has to get that approved through the scouts. And I have not heard back from him on that, but tentatively, it looks like we will be getting some bluebird houses built and installed with an Eagle Scout project. I don't know if you've noticed, the volleyball net is in pretty bad shape out on the volleyball court. We ordered the original net back in 2016. It failed and we got a new net sent to us, but I don't think we installed that for a couple of years. So the net that's out there has probably been up about 3 years. I would recommend that we get at least 1 new net. I checked the supplier this afternoon, and it runs around $155 thereabouts. And that looked like that was one of their better nets. So would like, I don't know what the tax and shipping on that, but I would like to request a motion to spend up to $200 for a volleyball net replacement.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Jeremy has seconded. Any questions or discussion? And Julian, would like you to coordinate with Angie perhaps on that, getting that ordered. I have the source I can provide to both of you.
Who's gonna install? Does that have a special fee?
No. It has a steel cable, and there are hasps out there, I guess, on the post.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. No, he's not, but he lives just outside Lake Park. I think he is. I think he's with the Lake Park troop. Yeah, that meets at the Methodist Church. His name is Zach Mills.
Oh, he was helped us to. We're acquainted.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
Our experience with this bird beaver is be better really odd so that we can climb to them.
Yep.
Climb that on a living place.
Yep.
Get rated.
Yep, no, I agree.
It could be intense for him.
Well, I was gonna-
wondering what the garden club might-
Well, I was going to hit Mr. Jeffrey up for the post as well as the lumber. So,
Okay, let Mr. Shelley deal with it.
okay, we're back on the volleyball net. I think we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of spending up to $200 for volleyball net replacement, signify by stating your name and A or nay.
Will, aye.
Julian, I.
Okay. Motion is unanimous. Thank you. All right, as we've been doing every month, we need to discuss the rentals of the community center as well as the outdoor gazebos after the month of April. One of the reasons, of course, that we've been reluctant to continue rentals during the COVID-19 pandemic is that we want to protect our staff. I think we're fortunate that our staff has been fully vaccinated at this point. as a lot of people that would be using the facilities. In discussions with Sheree and Angie, I think they're okay at this point to open up for rentals. And specifically, we've had a request from Miss Dee Dee's to hold the graduation in the Matheson Square gazebo on May 20-something, 2nd, 6th. It's covered up on my screen. So are there any thoughts on this? Is anybody reluctant to rent the facilities? Everybody okay with opening up rentals starting May 1st?
Is
We
as
would
well,
s-
I'm fine with it.
Okay. We would, of course, adhere to the governor's restrictions as far as the number of people, social distancing, use of masks, anything that is mandated by the governor. But I think one of the other things is that we know we're opening the pool up, and we'll have lifeguards and other people coming in and out using the facilities. So it's going to be very hard to restrict usage once the pool opens. Julian, any thoughts?
I'm good with the mayor.
Okay, Jeremy? Okay. All right, so the consensus is that we will open up for rental starting May 1st. Okay. Moving on to pools and tennis courts. As we mentioned at the last meeting, we were getting some flaking of the surface on the tennis court, and we approved getting some patch material to try and stop the flaking. We got 2 gallons of it's crack seal. When I went out to apply the patch, I took the blower to blow it off and clean it off. And I couldn't believe how much of that surface started flaking off just from the blower. So it ended up being a larger area than I anticipated, and I did run out of patch, and Sheree did order another gallon, which we have received. I will say the crack patch is not a good surface patch. It did not spread evenly. It did not spread smoothly. So it's a very rudimentary repair, but I think it will stop the flaking and probably protect those areas until we do a complete rebuild of the tennis courts. But I know, Will, you had worked with this stuff in the past, and I think you had some concerns with it, and just on sealing cracks. And I was not happy with the results, but again, I think it does provide some protection out there. Fortunately, it's not on the tennis court surface area. It's on over by the gate. Summer camps. Sheree, you want to talk about summer camps?
At this point, we have not been approached by a summer camp to utilize the pool. In the past, we've had several camps. I just need to know before we are approached, or if we are approached, what is the desire of Park and Rec? If the pool is 100% capacity, are we going to let a camp come in and rent the pool, or not? So I was trying to, I didn't want to have to come back and ask you guys later this week if you got a call. So, and I don't know, they may have already made other arrangements, but it may also, when the governor opens everything up June 1st, you know, be saying, okay, we come. So I just kind of wanted to see what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. Jeremy, any thoughts?
What's the revenue from that?
Usually around Well, when we were housing the treatment, $8,000 a year.
It does cut down, and it does cut down on, they get it for that time, so nobody can go in there.
No, no,
Who is open to anyone, but a lot of people tend to not come during that time. Just because you have a lot of kids in that junior Olympic pool, you know? It is nice.
Man,
We have one camp in the past that's had 50 kids, and we have 50 kids in that pool. But we made it, you know, they have to, take a swim test, and if they can't pass it, they have to wear one.
and how long are they here?
They're typically here from 10 to 1,
Okay,
but we do not allow the same, you can't come but once a week, but we do not have 2 camps on the same day.
that's not a lot of money, but that's a substantial amount of money to get back towards the loss we took back.
yeah, it is, yeah. And we've been doing this for
Years.
quite a number of years. I mean, it's not something new.
It was a while ago.
Yes.
Long as it wasn't a big-
It is.
I have no problem with it.
Okay, Julian or Will, any comments?
This is Julian. If the camps and the kids want to come back, I'm in favor.
Will?
I'm of the same opinion.
Okay. So if we are approached, we will allow the summer camps. Pool umbrellas, Angie,
We need $8,
any idea what they cost?
$60 each.
We need $500 for pool umbrellas. Is there a motion to approve $500 for the purchase of 8 pool umbrellas?
This is Julian. I make the motion to approve $500 for 8 pool umbrellas.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
As well, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by stating your name and A or nay.
Will, aye.
Julian, aye.
Jeremy, aye. Okay, motion is unanimous. Sheree raised the question about whether or not we want to install the water fountain over by the bathrooms or the pool house. We did not put that up last year, is that correct? Because of COVID?
Correct.
Okay. Any concerns about putting that up this year? I would think it should be okay, but a lot of places still are being touchy about their water or fountains and
Yeah, the kids first week. Nothing has changed. You're not supposed to, not supposed to be off on the weekend.
yeah. Okay, any concerns about putting the water fountain back up? If not,
This
we'll
is
go-
Julian. No concerns.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and put that back up. When Carolina Pool Management was out here opening up pools, they noticed that there was a leak from the water heater in the new pump house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the one on the right. We had JT Plumbing come out and take a look. They gave us an estimate of $1,000 to replace the water heater. We asked them to wait until we had a chance to discuss it this evening. We do have money in the budget for pool repairs, free.
I do have some other interesting information.
Okay,
To open our pool, we do not have to have a hot water. We do not have hot water on the other side.
interesting.
And quite a few of the pools that CPM takes care of does not have hot water. So we literally could get walk to, to cap it or shut it down, whatever the correct term is. And just leave it and not have hot water. So that is option number 3. I don't know, I couldn't believe we didn't have a hot water heater in the other bathrooms over here. So, but for pools, you don't have to have, you just have to have all your water has to be less than 110 degrees.
Okay.
So that's,
All right. Angie, what are your thoughts on this? You're involved with pool and swim team.
I would be more concerned of someone turning on hot water and scalding themselves or the kids not really which to turn. Once we have a working water heater. I don't think anybody really uses hot water at the pool anywhere. They're going to depend on the floor and the pool and fill it up.
Okay. Any thoughts or comments from commissioners?
It's something pretty funny, and I looked at that when I saw the agenda last week. Saw pool water fountain, we're gonna want to, somebody to put a fountain in the pool. And a pool water heater, oh my God, we pay to heat the water to go in the pool. I'm happy to know. I'm just that idiot.
The reverse, we spend money to cool the water.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have any issues with just capping the hot water and not reinstalling the hot water heater?
Negative.
Okay, we will do that.
No issues.
Pardon, Julian? No
I'll
issues?
say no issues.
All right. Okay.
Mayor, before you move on, the one thing, I just realized Ron had a question, hours.
Okay, good question. 4th of July falls on Sunday, and our Sunday hours are currently 12 till 6. Would we like to open up to regular Sunday hours or regular weekday hours for the 4th of July, which would be 10 till 8? Since it is a holiday. I would be inclined to extend the hours since it is a holiday.
Well,
Jeremy, favor that? Julian or Will, do you have any objections to extending those hours on July 4th?
No objections. No objections. Will.
No objections, Julian.
Okay. Let's have a motion to extend the pool hours on July 4th from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. Jeremy has made the motion. Is there a second?
Julian, a second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of extending the pool hours on July 4th from 10 till 8, signify by stating your name and A or nay.
Will. Aye.
Julian, aye.
Motion is unanimous. Okay. Moving on to the ponds, and now we can talk about fountains, Jeremy. Joe Scaldera had wanted to join us this evening and got tied up at work. But he's got some money left in his electrical budget and has offered to pay for lights on the far fountain in Russell Park, if that would be the desire of the commission. He's also open to other suggestions if you have something else that you would like to have done regarding electrical. I looked at last year when we replaced the fountain closest to the community center in Russell Park Pond. It was a Casco fountain, $2,833. And then we bought the colored lights, and the lights were $1,200 and $130 to install. We're probably looking at something in that neighborhood of $1,330. I did talk to Foster Lake and Pond this afternoon, and he wasn't sure that the Casco light kit would fit the fountain on the far end, but he thought that probably could make it fit. It's not a Casco fountain down on the far end. The other option would be to go to the manufacturer of that fountain and buy their light kit. But quite frankly, that fountain has been in there a couple of years now, and if we replace the fountain, we probably would go to a Casco, which is a little better quality fountain. And I would hate to have a light kit then that wouldn't fit the new Casco fountain. So kind of open to suggestions and thoughts on that. Again, Joe is willing to take it out of his budget. Is there anything else that you would like to see? Yes, Angie.
Work on the lights at the front entrance and light up our brick wall and our lake park sign. I think didn't we talk one year how the light bulbs were different colors and we wanted universal light bulbs in there, so that one wasn't like a cool white, you know, the warm white. Maybe update or change the lighting of that fountain or the signage, or just work on the front entrance of the property.
Okay.
Question mark?
Yeah, I think it's probably not mutually exclusive for what we're talking about here. I think Joe's budget is really in pretty good shape.
He's gonna do some work at the car pad.
Yeah, so, some of that's just kind of routine maintenance. He's got $5,000 remaining in his budget, that's as of right now. So I think there's room to do both, and we can certainly ask Joe to look into the front entrance lighting and get some cost estimate of what would be involved to upgrade that or standardize that. So let's go back to the Russell Park Fountain. Is that something you're interested in pursuing or not? Don't care.
I think it's a nice addition. I mean, it looks good. I agree with going with Casco if that's the fountain. It may be a problem down there. We rode around the other week, and one side wasn't spraying right.
Yeah, I asked Foster Lake and Pond to clean that nozzle, and they said they would, and I don't know if they have.
I haven't done that, but
Yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah. I'm just wondering, if we're gonna add lights, should we do it at Connie's Pond? Here you've got pond that everybody drives by going in and out the main entrance. Would that be, we used to have lights, and I think there are lights there that just have failed.
Yeah, I like what Andrew said too about the front entrance. Some things out there. I was thinking on the front of the party.
Yeah.
Would be a good plan.
Maybe when this fountain at Russell fails,
Yeah,
we,
do the whole
every
thing.
time we do the whole thing.
Okay, well, we've got that suggestion out there. Do some work on the front entrance and put in new lights at Connie's Pond and wait on the far end of Russell Park Pond until that fountain actually fails. Of course, we don't know the one in Connie's Pond could fail before that, but both of those fountains were put in about the same time, 2 years ago. Julian, Will, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm in favor of that plan.
Okay,
Same.
all right. Actually, I'll go back to Joe on this with those suggestions, and we typically don't vote on his budget, even though it falls under Park and Rec, so he would have to bring that directly to council if that's, our recommendation and something he would agree with. So I'll pass those suggestions back to Joe. All right, Will did a very thorough survey of all the cul-de-sacs, and I've got the presentation, if you will, if you want me to go through it. He's got 60 photos of all the cul-de-sacs. Again, very detailed. I think there's 2 photos per cul-de-sac, both the front and the rear views. And I can try and bring that up here if you would like me to, Will. Will, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can let me know what you want me to do here.
Okay, no, I don't think there's a need to show all the photos. there's a definite pattern. So let me start fresh. There are 37 cul-de-sacs. The bulk of them are about the size of the picture that Mayor picked here for this particular cul-de-sac. There is a definite traffic formula on most of them, and that is the traffic is running on the backside plants, and then there's an angle coming in and coming out. There are 3 cul-de-sacs that are large enough that they haven't suffered any damage. There's 1 cul-de-sac that's fully rocked, and I can see the tire tracks on that one, so that one seems to be working well. So yeah, my proposal on moving forward with the cul-de-sacs is to remove some of the material that's on some of the plants that are damaged beyond repair, and make the backside of them more resistant to traffic, which they will get tire tracks on them. As I was doing this, driving around, I spoke to 2 homeowners, and they said, oh yeah, one of the other problems is sometimes people park personal vehicles in that cul-de-sac, and delivery guys have no choice but to get on the cul-de-sacs. So that may be something that could be in the newsletter. Hey, don't block the cul-de-sacs, leave it as much open for the delivery drivers. Not all of them drive the same. So my suggestion, just as I saw that, I would say most of them are like this, is that the remaining plants are removed and turn that backside into a more rocky area. I think mulch will be a waste of money. And then do newer plants here and there towards the front, what you first see as you approach them. So we'll just take an area at a time and go from there. As I had split all of Lake Park into 4 regions, if you will, 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, which is east side of Faith Church, it's got 13 cul-de-sacs, and the middle section, it's got 7, the north end 7, and the west southwest it's got 10. So I figured just start with the one that's got the most, since there's a lot of them nearby each other, and they're all going to be about the same amount of work needed on them. That's kind of just throwing an idea out there. I think if we waste any money planting past the 2 points that you see, especially on this picture here, it's just gonna be a waste.
Plus, a lot of these cul-de-sacs have electric, so you wouldn't need
Yeah, have light poles. Yeah, you've got light poles, you've got sewer, access. Um, And some of them still have, river birch trees in them.
Correct, and a lot of those, I think that I only saw one that was in good shape, but all the other ones are in decline. There is opportunity to do some tree plantings. I would go with how harsh that area is. I really wouldn't pick anything other than crepe myrtle, and we don't have to stick to the same kind of crepe myrtle. I mean, there's enough variety within them. Pick different ones, and try them out. So not all the cul-de-sacs need to be the same. The other thing that I saw a lot of is damage to that concrete. Does that fall within us as well, as far as trying to do some form of repair there as well? What would be construed to be something that probably needs to be tackled? Are there any safety or any, as these crumble and you've got more pieces of concrete out there and cars are pushing them out into that cul-de-sac, is that a concern? So again, this is just the first step. I figure just take a look at all of them and just kind of see what the main issue is, and the main issue is traffic. On the back side. On the back, you really only have a window, probably about 30% of that cul-de-sac, 30 to 40% of that cul-de-sac is actually workable where it can be maintained. The other percentage needs to be, I believe, made so that the vehicles that need to drive on it, again, the larger vehicles can drive on it and not destroy the whole thing.
I believe the curb would fall under the street budget for Powell Bell. We are getting ready to let a contract for the paving of a number of streets, and I could have the contractor take a look at a couple of these and give us an estimate for what it would cost to redo the curbing. 3 years ago, they did a minor repair over on Mayhurst, I think, where they fixed some of the curbing and some of the water standing issues. So if there's a couple of them, Will, that you would like maybe to have them take a look at and get an estimate, we could do that. I'm gonna see if they can come out here sometime in the next week or two to give us some estimates on some other work in addition to the regular street paving. So if you could let me know on that, Will, I could do that. The question I have for you, Will, is if we wanted to get some work done in this current fiscal year, one of the things that you said is there's some shrubbery that should just be taken out because it's beyond repair. And
this picture you show right there as an example, that stump probably should be ground up. There's a pine stump right there.
Right. The other thing is you said that mulch on the back is probably a waste of time, but some of these cul-de-sacs probably could use some mulch.
Yes,
yeah.
Some of them definitely can, but not as much as doing the entire cul-de-sac. Like this one here would be just a waste to try to do mulch that entire area.
Okay. So really I don't know what I kind of agree with you that we put new plants on the backside of these cul-de-sacs and they keep getting run over. We've tried monkey grass as a plant that might be able to withstand the traffic and still survive, and we haven't had a real lot of success with that, I don't think. So you mentioned putting a rock or some rock surface or something in there. It was rather expensive, that one cul-de-sac on Denise that we did do rock on the entire thing. I think it was close to $2,000.
That was all nice rock. I mean, that's river rock. That's probably one of the most, it's not the most expensive variety, rock available, but it was the next one down.
Yeah. Maybe riprap.
So I get.
Maybe riprap.
Yeah, no,
traffic.
yeah, no, I wasn't thinking riprap. Thinking something in between riprap and that really expensive rock.
Right.
Something in there. But as an example, the way these sites are constructed, a lot of that dirt is right up to. It's just below the grade of that curve, so you get a lot of chipping going on the edge. So there should be where these are dug up a little bit, and then that rock can be just about right in level, so it displaces the weight.
Right.
You don't have so much breakage going on the curve itself.
Right.
So I see it as a combination of things, dependent on the particular cul-de-sac. It may be a combination of removing some plants, adding some plants in some. This one here is an example, grading that stump, getting that below grade. Addition of rock, and like I said, a V on both ends in the back side. Like this one, you could potentially use a couple plants there nearby between the pole and the manhole there. I mean, so there's not all of them are the same. So
yeah.
What I'm saying is, but I think that most of them could use a surface that could be driven on.
Yeah.
And
No, I agree.
so,
Jeremy or Julian, any comments or thoughts on this?
This is Julian. I'm just looking and I'm in agreement with Will as far as the area where it's going to be high traffic and high damage. Figure out a way to lessen the damage with hardier material. So I'm in agreement.
Okay.
I don't know where we're going with this. We got a plan in mind for any of them. Quick math, $2,000, $74,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's kind of like probably similar to the tennis court deal. We need to just make a plan and institute how much we're going to put into that every year.
Mhm.
Figure out what we're going to do and do it.
So, okay, short term, Will, I think we need to take advantage of some of the money that we have set aside in our budget this year. But we need to get some estimates. If it's Lucas quoting any plant replacements, any plant removal, if we need to do some stump grinding, if we need to do some mulch. So sometime probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, if you and I can come up with a list so we can get a quote from Lucas and anybody else that's involved, we could bring it to the Park and Rec meeting in May. We would need to get approval from council in June. That doesn't give us a lot of time to get it done. But that's kind of where we're headed with that. Does that make sense to you, Will?
Yeah, it does. I've got enough notes on my end that I can pull, you know, the worst ones. Obviously, not, at this point in time, it's not worth planting anything.
Right.
So it's a matter of removals. You know, that's stump grinding there. I know of a couple that can benefit from mulch now. So just kind of mishmash of different priorities and focuses on the ones that can be worked on. So there are things that can be worked on right now. As far as the May meeting, I just as a heads up, I will not be here at that meeting. I will be out west somewhere.
Okay. But if we have the information that we can present at the next Park and Rec meeting, we can perhaps approve it to take it to council.
Yes, sir.
At that
I agree.
Okay, good, thank you. Speaking of mulch, we did approve 240 cubic yards of mulch, and council approved the $12,000 for that. I talked to Lucas this afternoon. They have spread approximately 160 cubic yards, so they've got another 75, 80 cubic yards to go. And they said that they felt that they would be able to cover everything in the list that I sent to them. And they thought they still might have a little left over. If there's any particular area that you would like to see mulch on, please let me know. Coming to the meeting tonight, I immediately noticed around the clock tower. I don't think that was on my list that I sent to them, but it looks like it could certainly use some refreshing. So, that was on the list. Yeah, that was in, and the tree down by the ice cream store. Put mulch on that. They're, yeah, that's on the list. And so they'll get to that. So, but if there's any other areas that you notice that could use some mulch, let me know. That's already done. They've done the crepe myrtles at the front entrance. They've done garden pond. They've done the mimosa cul-de-sac, and they've done Bobby Lane Pond. And each of those areas, they've done a very good job. Yeah, usually I reserve, and we did this year, we reserved about $1,000 out of our budget to go ahead and do that just before the Memorial Day ceremony. The mulch isn't as bad this year down there as it typically has been, but we might want to look at refreshing that as well.
The island on Queens, where we have the three lines,
Yes. Okay.
Garden district, stages and stages, that no,
That's done. That's pretty well done. That was done Friday or Thursday or Friday. Mhm. They still have yet to do the back side of Balsam Pond and the back side of Lake Charles. So, okay. Miss Judy brought to my attention a week or so back that the shrubs at the population sign, she thought at the time that 4 or 5 of them were dead or dying, but they're all dead or dying. I think there's about 9 of them there. Now is not the time to be planting these. Will, if you get a chance, could you go take a look at those and make sure that they are not going to come back? They sure don't look like it. But if you have an opportunity, Will, could you go take a look at those and see what you think?
I'd be glad to.
You know, if nothing else, we might want to pull those out of there. Beware of the fire ant sign. Okay. So that's something that we probably would be replacing next fall. But we might be able to pull them out now, assuming they are dead. Churchill entrance, nothing's been done on that. We've looked at a number of things. We looked at the possibility of putting a swale in there to drain the water that sits on that concrete pad. Will has suggested taking that concrete pad completely out of there and just putting grass or sod in there. Another option is to redo that concrete pad and raise it up so water doesn't get caught between the concrete and the turf. Lucas did go over there and measure the grade, and it's about a 30-foot distance between the pad and the street, and there's about 3 inches of fall. They said that they typically would like to see about 2 inches of fall in order for water to drain properly. But it was not out of the question that we could cut a swale in there to just try and drain that water away. In our budget for next year, I have included, I think, $2,000 to try and come up with a solution for this Churchill entrance. So this is just more of an FYI. It's probably something we would work on in our next budget.
And that also ties into the comprehensive land use plan, making our entrances so that people are more aware that they're entering into the village of Lake. So that would tie in there too.
Yeah. Related to the drainage issue there, we've got several areas where water stands on the sidewalks, in addition to what we have done on Russell Park and are planning to do over at Founders Park. There's an area that Will, you mentioned on Balsam between Joshua Alley and Creft, the water stands there. There's another area over on Mimosa and Alden. And we talked to Precision Safe Sidewalks about standing water on the sidewalks, and I've talked to a number of vendors about the possibility of trying to raise the sidewalks by injecting fill underneath. They drill holes and they raise concrete driveways and things like that. Of the vendors I've talked to, nobody really recommends doing that procedure to raise sidewalks. But when Precision Safe Sidewalks was out here a week back, I showed them a couple of these areas, and the problem is there's no, again, you don't have any slope between the sidewalk and the curb. But they said that they could cut the curb to lower the curb to provide a slope. And it was very reasonable, $25 a foot to cut about two inches out of the curb. So that's again a next year project probably, because we'll probably have Precision Safe Sidewalks come out and remove some trip hazards. But I think it would be interesting to maybe try that on 1 or 2 locations, and so you'd cut the curb and then have Lucas put a little swale in there to drain the water off the sidewalk. I don't know if anybody has any ideas or thoughts on that, but I think it'd be something that would be worth trying in 1 or 2 locations. Again, we're probably looking at next year's budget to do that, and it wouldn't be very expensive. So just a point of interest there. The other thing, I talked to Lucas a few days ago about some outstanding projects. One is the swales over on Founders Park. And putting in sod at Connie's Pond, and also doing the repairs and restoration there at the Balsam common areas between Creft and Joshua Alley. All three of those projects are scheduled on the for this week. So we should be looking at some of those projects getting done this week. Okay. Before we adjourn, is there anything that anybody else would like to bring up this evening?
I don't know if it happens often, but twice last week, there were two different sets of people fishing in the front pond. When I came by, stopped, and nobody gave me trouble, they all left. But
Stop between the,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
maybe there's sign
I
right
don't
there.
know.
okay. Any other comments? Julian, Will, anything?
Yes, for the vendor that I've got over on Logan, that estimate I sent to you regarding the pad for the bench out there,
Right.
we still want to do that?
Was your estimate was $500, correct?
That is correct.
We did get the bench in, and this is for Normandy Pond off Logan. The bench was just under $500, I think. Park and Rec approved $900 for this project. So we'd be pushing just under $1,000, but I don't think that's a big issue. So anybody have any concerns with installing a pad down there for the bench for $500? If not, we'll just go ahead with that, Will.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll give them the green light.
okay, good.
You're gonna be re-sloping, there's gonna be enough room for us to re-slope that moment.
Oh, yeah, it's way back. Yeah, this will be way. Yeah, we're looking at shoreline restoration on Normandy Pond. And of course, that's going to affect, 10, 20 feet back from the shoreline, but the bench would be probably 50 feet from the shoreline.
Yeah, we're definitely beyond that point.
Okay. Any other comments?
No additional comments from me, Mayor.
Pardon?
No additional comments from Julian.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. And is there a motion to adjourn?
This is Will. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Julian, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by stating your name and your name.
Is Will? Aye.
Julian, aye.